Now I'm going to go ahead and start sealing the dome to the submarine. As you can see, the paint here has been painted and allowed to dry overnight. Along the line here you see all of the screws that are necessary to hold it in. Back here you see how they throughput. If it comes out on the opening here, that means it's open to water, and that's actually easier. The ones inside here are going to be hooked up to the ballast tank. And that makes it a little harder because I've got to make sure it's sealed here and on there. I use different size of screws so that I won't have to cut them later on. Now what I have to do is I have to apply a bead of silicone all around here on the dome as well as on the hull itself. Once that's done, it's going to have to dry for a few days to make sure it's right. Disaster! While I was removing the bubble from the submarine, all of the screws that I so carefully matched and put in fell out. So what I ended up doing is I ended up marking each hole for the small screws, and the ones that aren't marked are for the large holes. Also, I prepared extra screws and nuts and bolts so that when I do this next time I can just pop them in real quickly. Got my wrench, got my things. So now I'm going to put a bead of silicone all the way around this opening, and I'm going to do the same all the way around here. Now, silicone's pretty expensive, but the truth is, if you don't use enough, you're in trouble and you have to start all over again. So when I get the cabin on, I'm going to tighten it just enough so that all of the air bubbles are out of the silicone in here, and then let it dry for at least 24 hours. Then I'll come back and re-tighten them just a little bit more, make sure that seal's nice and strong. Alright, there's my bead of silicone around the bubble. Here's my bead of silicone all around the edges of the flange where we're going to put the bubble. Now it's time to put it on. And for this operation I'll be using my trusty assistant, Berrios, my younger daughter. It's also a lot harder than it sounds. You need 2 people to do it. There's the excess glorped on. I'm basically just going to take my finger and trim off the excess with my finger right now. Then I'm going to let it dry. I'm also going to do the same thing on the inside. And then the bubble's ready. It's all set to be tested. Next stop, test stand. This is my test stand. It looks pretty elaborate and it's very, very strong. The reason I have to do it like this is I'm going to use it multiple times. The first time I'm going to test it is for the actual cabin, make sure that it works okay. The second time I'm going to use it is when I get the ballast tanks put on place. The whole boat is actually going to be hung from the hard points on the sub itself here, and it's going to have about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch gap along each one of these holders. That way, if my hard point should fail. So here's my test stand, there's my cabin. Now all I have to do is put them together. Okay, this is Theodor's cabin, all set up and ready to do a test. The static test thing will basically allow me to fill it up with water, check for leaks, make sure everything is strong and ready to go. And there we go, and this is the inside of the cabin, and that is the view from inside the cabin. Oh well. This is Submarine Theodor, signing off. And in the meantime, what I'll be doing is I'm going to be doing some finishing work, and I'm going to be building the frame to flip it upside down and test it for water pressure. Okay, well that's where I am right now, and I'll fill you in as I go further. Talk to you later.